Hello students, a very good morning and welcome to daily newspaper analysis of 27th of April. So yes, I am back with four important topics from The Hindu. Many important topics were there. So these four topics I thought we should discuss in detail. So without any delay, let's start our discussion. So first topic is related to sixth schedule. So here the topic of Ladakh has been discussed because from 2019 only the demands of statehood as well as the demand to include Ladakh in sixth schedule are being discussed. So that's why this article was in news recently also. Second important article is related to right to life, that is article 21. So recently Supreme Court has given an important order. So we shall be discussing. Now what important thing is Supreme Court has recently added under right to life. Third important article is related to FTA, that is Free Trade Agreement between India and New Zealand. So here briefly we shall be discussing the important provisions of free trade agreement. So not each and every detail is important for you. And then we shall be discussing the static part, that is what is free trade agreement. And finally, this topic, that is Anthropic Mythos. Mythos is an AI tool developed by Anthropic. So this was in news from past few weeks. So today we shall be discussing the basics about the Mythos. So here is our first article. Okay, so this first article is Union Government to resume talks on Ladakh on May 22. So here, what the talks will be related to? So talks will be related to various demands which are put forward by the civil societies in Ladakh. So see, let's understand a brief background. As you know, in 2019, Jammu Kashmir was bifurcated. So here, in 2019, Ladakh was separated from Jammu and Kashmir. And from that time only, see now, Jammu and Kashmir have a legislature. Okay, so here the legislative decisions can be made on their own. But Ladakh is completely under the central control, because here Ladakh do not have the legislature. So because of that, since around more than 90% of people in Ladakh belong to a tribal population. So Ladakh is demanding autonomy, and it is demanding autonomy in two forms. First of all, Ladakh is demanding that we need a statehood. That means like a full-fledged state, like the Telangana, like Madhya Pradesh, like Rajasthan. So Ladakh says that instead of being union territory, instead of being completely under the central control, we want a statehood. We want to take our own legislative decisions, our own local decisions. And second demand which they are putting forward is to include Ladakh in the sixth schedule of the constitution. So here I have already highlighted that more than 90% of the people in Ladakh belong to a tribal population, and hence they are demanding that we want to be included under the sixth schedule of the constitution, because under sixth schedule at present we have four states which are included, that is Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. So now Ladakh is saying we also want inclusion in this because we also have significant tribal population. So what is the issue? Now, these all demands started from 2019 when Ladakh was separated from Jammu and Kashmir, and from that time the talks are being held out between the union government as well as Ladakh. Now, quickly let's discuss for you what all other things are important. See, as these talks are being going out, are being discussed. So last year and before that year, various riots happened. We lost various lives. So here, the name of climate activist, that is Sonam Wangchuk, is also very important, because under National Security Act he was detained. So all these things were happening, and the main demands were the inclusion in the sixth schedule of the constitution as well as the statehood. So let's briefly discuss the important things for you with respect to exam. So if we talk about the sixth schedule, so here you must have a basic idea about Article 244 as well as Article 275 of the Constitution. So whenever you are revising for prelims of 2026, you must have a basic idea about fifth schedule as well as sixth schedule, the states which are included in sixth schedule, and you must read in detail about Article 244 as well as about Article 275, and you must be very clear about the states, which four states are included. Now, what was the need, that why they want inclusion in sixth sixth schedule. So first very important thing which I told is about the presence of tribes, that more than 90% of people belong to a tribal population. Then apart from that, they want to protect their cultural autonomy. They want to protect their cultural autonomy. They want to protect their land rights. And if we talk about the sixth schedule, so in sixth schedule, we have the provision of autonomous districts council. So these councils have a lot of power. These councils can take the decision autonomously, and they do not need to depend on the central government or the state government. That's why Ladakh is demanding all these things. Now, if we talk about the statehood, so under the statehood, what all things you must remember? Can we listen to this if our history class starts at the same? Okay, so one student is asking that how can we listen to this if our history class starts at the same time. So please, you don't worry. I will discuss these things because actually I wasn't aware about the timing of the history class, and I will make sure that from tomorrow this clash does not happen. So please don't worry. Okay, so these were the important reasons why Ladakh wanted the inclusion in the sixth schedule. Now, second important thing is about the statehood. So, if we are discussing from exam point of view, so under the statehood, Article 2 as well as Article 3 of the Constitution is very, very important. You must have a basic idea because since it is demanding statehood, that means a state will be created. Now, that you have to decide because Article 2 focuses on the creation of new states. The territories which were earlier not part of the India, now they will be included in the Union of India. And Article 3 focuses on the creation, on the changes in the boundary or something changes in the existing state so that a new state will be created. So now please tell me in the comment section that if ever Ladakh gets the statehood, so it will be done under Article 2 of the Constitution or under Article 3 of the Constitution. So please remember all these things. Okay, so I think this was it for the discussion. And if ever any talks happen in the future, then we shall be discussing these things also. So if we talk about from exam point of view, so first thing which you have to remember is that Ladakh does not have its own state legislature. It is a union territory and it completely comes under the central control. Second important thing for you to remember is that around Yes. So second important thing is that more than 90% of the population in Ladakh is tribal population, and that's why they are demanding the inclusion in the sixth schedule so as to protect their land rights, their cultural autonomy, etc. Third important thing is if we are talking about the sixth schedule, then you have to remember 4 states which are included in the sixth schedule, and in sixth schedule also you must read in detail about Article 244 as well as Article 275 of the Constitution. And if we are talking about the statehood, then you must focus on Article 2 as well as Article 3 of the Constitution. And you must remember very clearly that which article focuses on the new states and which article focuses on the existing states. So these were the important things. So first thing you have to tell me that if Ladakh becomes a statehood, if Ladakh gets a statehood, then it will be done under Article 2 or Article 3 of the Constitution. Second thing which you have to tell me in the comment section that Tribes Advisory Council is a constitutional body or a statutory body. So please answer that about the Tribes Advisory Council, that whether it is a constitutional body or it is statutory body. Now, next very important article is right to safe travel on highways is part of right to life, which is said by Supreme Court. So very, very important decision. It can be directly asked in exam. So first of all, let's discuss the context. What recently happened? So last year in Rajasthan, successive deaths happened. And in those deaths, so successive deaths happened in the period of 2 days. And in those deaths, more than 30 plus people lost their lives because of the road accidents on the highways. So taking this case in cognizance, recently Supreme Court has declared, yes, are you able to see? Okay, so recently Supreme Court has declared that right to safe passage on highways. Okay, first thing is the safety of commuters against the road accidents, first thing, as well as the right to safe passage on highways are the fundamental right under right to life, Article 21 of the Constitution. Very, very important. UPSC can directly ask, UPSC can give any point. Right to safe passage on highways is protected under which article of the Constitution or which fundamental right? So Supreme Court has recently given the order that these two things come under right to life, that is Article 21 of the Constitution. Okay. Now, briefly, let's discuss the reasons why court had to intervene. So the context we already discussed, because of the successive deaths in the Rajasthan in last year, so where more than 30 plus people died. So here, that's why court has taken this case. But what are the bigger issues? Bigger issues are the court had to intervene because national highways form around only 2% of the total road length in India, but they account for nearly 30% of road fatalities. Can you see here? In road length just 2%, but in road fatalities 30%. So it is very high. So it represents the very high risk nature of the highways in India. Court has also highlighted that many deaths in India are avoidable. What court has said along with this, that various deaths in India are avoidable. And why avoidable deaths are happening in India? So first point it said is about the illegal parking. Because if the commercial vehicles like the very large trucks park their vehicle here and there, so it will be, so in that way the right to way, or in that way the way of moving will be disrupted. Second important thing which it highlighted was the administrative failure. Administrative failure. So first, why avoidable deaths are happening in India? First reason is the illegal parking, because the commercial vehicles are parked here and there. Second important point is because of the administrative failure. So administration is not putting a lot of focus on these kind of deaths. And third important thing, which we can say is related to administrative failures, is presence of many potholes on the administrative highways. So because of that, avoidable deaths are happening in India. Now, these are the some of the recommendations, or this is the order which court has given. So to avoid the avoidable deaths in India, first important thing which court has said, that no new dhabas, eateries or commercial structures must be established within the right of way of the national highways, so that the people can move seamlessly and avoidable deaths can be reduced. Second thing which it has said is, heavy or commercial vehicles can stop only at the designated bays or laybys. So here, Supreme Court has already said that these deaths are happening because of the illegal parking, because of the administrative failure, and because the right of way is obstructed by all these things. That's why it has given the order that no new commercial structure will be established within the right of way. And it has also discussed about the parking, that heavy or commercial vehicles will be stopped only at the designated bays or only at the designated laybys. So these were the orders of Supreme Court. So now please revise with me what Supreme Court has recently declared, that the safety of commuters against the road accidents, first thing, and the right to safe passage on highways. These two things are part of the fundamental right to life, Article 21 of the Constitution. UPSC can directly ask in the prelims that these two things are part of which article of the Constitution. So they are part of Article 21 of the Constitution. Now, please give me answer in the comment section, that right to marry person of own choice comes under which article of the Constitution, or is protected under which fundamental right. So, right to marry person of own choice comes under which article of the Constitution? So, give answer in the comment section. Okay. Now, next important article is the free trade agreement between India and New Zealand. So the heading is New Zealand, India to sign free trade agreement today. So first of all, let's discuss the basic provisions of the free trade agreement. And if there is any important keyword, I shall be discussing it in detail. Okay, so here India and New Zealand will sign a free trade agreement on 27th of April. This is among India's fastest negotiated free trade agreement. And so this line you can use in mains. Whenever you are discussing about the trade negotiations, you can write this, that the free trade agreement between India and New Zealand is among the fastest negotiated free trade agreement. Important thing here is that in this, 100% of India's exports to New Zealand will get duty-free market access. 100% of India's exports. So, for example, if India is exporting the products worth $100, then all these products will get the duty-free market access to New Zealand. So here the article says the average tariff which New Zealand imposes on the products of any country, they are around 2.2%, but all the products from India which are going to New Zealand, they will attract the zero tariff. Now in return, what India did? India will reduce or remove tariffs on 95% of current imports from the New Zealand. Now read the second line. India has offered access on around 70% of the tariff lines. See, there is a difference between these two lines. If we talk about the first line says India will reduce or remove tariffs on 95% of the current imports. So see, for example, New Zealand is importing products worth of $100 to India. That means India is importing $100 products to India worth $100. Now, for example, out of these $100, the products which are of worth $95, all these products will, on all these products, the duties will either be zero or the tariffs will be removed or reduced. So out of $100 on products of worth $95, they will attract a very low duty. If we talk about the second line says India has offered access to around 75% of the tariff lines. Tariff lines means the category of the products which we are using to impose the tariffs. So for example, there are 100 products in India. And out of those 100 products, 100 product categories, for example, dairy products, agricultural products, leather products. So these are the various products. These are the various tariff lines on which the tariffs can be imposed. So out of these 100 categories, India has opened just the 70 categories for the 70 categories for the products which can be imported from New Zealand. So why these 30% categories are not opened up? These 30% categories are not opened up to protect our domestic industries, because the dairy industry or the agricultural industry is not still opened up for New Zealand. So please focus on this thing. First line is focusing on the value of imports, that on the 95% value of imports, reduced duty will be attracted. But if we are talking about the tariff lines, so out of 100 categories, on 70 categories only imports can be done from New Zealand. 30% categories are not opened up for free trade agreement. So here, yes, and important thing here is New Zealand will invest around $20 billion in India over 15 years. So this is very important in a free trade agreement, because here, beyond the trade in goods, agreement is also covering services and mobility. Mobility means including the student work rights, skilled worker visas, etc., etc. So this line you can use in mains, that in recent years, if a question comes that in recent years, what is the changing nature of free trade agreement between countries? So you can easily write that beyond trade in goods and services, agreement is also covering the mobility and other aspects. So here, mobility like the mobility of students, mobility of workers, and the other kind of services, as well as other kind of investments also. Next important thing is the agreement also has most favored nation type of clause. It's not exactly most favored nation. Most favored nation type of clause means, for example, this is country A and these are the trade partners of country A. For example, ABCD are trade partners of country A. So if A is providing some negotiations or benefits to country A, same benefits or negotiations A has to provide to B, C and D also. So here this free trade agreement has MFN type of clause, meaning if India offers better trade terms to another countries, then similar terms India has to provide to New Zealand also. This is the meaning of free trade agreement. Okay, so this is the meaning of MFN type. MFN type means most favored nation type, means if you are giving benefits to one of your trading partner, then you have to provide same benefits to another partner. Now, quickly discuss what is a free trade agreement. What is a free trade agreement? So it is an agreement between two or more countries to reduce or eliminate tariffs. So if UPSC gives this statement that in free trade agreement tariffs become zero or tariffs are completely eliminated, then that option will be wrong, because in free trade agreement, first thing, tariffs can be reduced. Second thing, tariffs can be eliminated also. And to eliminate tariffs and other trade barriers on goods and sometimes services. So free trade agreement, first thing, it automatically tariffs do not become zero. Either they can be reduced or they can be eliminated. Second important thing, free trade agreement covers services also as well as goods also. Now, what is the purpose of free trade agreement? Obviously, purpose will be to increase the trade, to reduce the cost, to improve market access, etc. And sometimes investment also. See, so here only we already discussed that New Zealand will invest around $20 billion in India. Now, here important thing to note is, here trade becomes freer between member countries, but each member country remains free to decide tariffs for non-member countries. For example, here again, if I am taking example of India and New Zealand, so here under the free trade agreement, what is happening? India is reducing the tariffs on New Zealand imports, and New Zealand will, and simultaneously New Zealand will also do the same thing. But for example, India has other trade partners, for example, ABCD, and New Zealand have other trade partners, for example, XYZ. So now India and New Zealand are independent, that they can impose any other condition on their other trade partners. So this thing is not happening in free trade agreement. But this is a thing if we talk about the custom union. So whenever you read about the trade agreements, you must read about various kind of trade agreements. So here we are discussing about one kind of trade agreement, that is the free trade agreement. Custom union is another kind of trade agreement, and in custom union, if two countries are in the agreement, then they have to impose a common tariff on the other member trading partners also. So briefly, let's discuss basic difference, because this difference can easily be asked in UPSC. So here we are discussing difference between free trade agreement as well as the custom union. So if we talk about the internal tariffs, so internal tariffs in FTA also as well as in custom union, either tariffs will be entirely, they will be removed, or they will be reduced. So here it becomes same. If we talk about the tariffs on the non-members, so in free trade agreement, both countries are independent to impose other kind of tariffs on non-members. But in the custom union, both the countries have to apply the same amount of tariff on the common members also. So this thing was not an FTA, but this thing has to be done in the customs union. So if we talk about the trade independence, that yes, complete independence is in free trade agreement, but independence is reduced in the custom union. So these were the important points related to free trade agreement. Now, a very important article about the anthropics mythos. So here the heading is how anthropics mythos made the cure worse than the disease. So first of all, let's discuss basics. Okay, so recently what happened? A major giant, that is Anthropic has made two revelations. First of all, it has revealed a major cybersecurity AI model, that is Mythos. And second thing, it has revealed an alliance of various cybersecurity firms. So that alliance we call as Project Glasswing. So UPSC can quickly ask this word, that Project Glasswing was recently in news. It is related to what? So Project Glasswing is related to the field of cyber security. So the major giant, that is Anthropic has made two revelations. First revelation was its AI model, that is Mythos, and second revelation was the alliance, which alliance made under Project Glasswing. So major purpose of this alliance is to strengthen the cyber security infrastructure in India. Now quickly let's discuss about this AI model, that is Mythos, and then we will discuss that what are the vulnerabilities related to this model. See, if we talk about a normal cyber security firm, so in cyber security firm we will be having will be having various verticals. For example, you will be having the coders. For example, you will be having the testers. Right. So here our main article is related to testers of the cyber security vulnerability. So see how these testers will work. See, if you want to check the vulnerability of any software, vulnerability means how vulnerable that particular system is to the cyber attacks. So how these testers will test? For example, this is a software, and this software has its particular cyber security system. Now what these testers will do, these testers will make multiple attempts to enter the security of the software, because they want to test that how strong the cyber security is. Because in future if any hacker tries to hack the system, so whether it is very easy or it is very difficult. So the main purpose of these testers is they will try to penetrate the software, and if they can easily penetrate the software, then they will tell the coders that your code is not very strong and we have to create the multiple layers of the security. And if they are not successful in entering this software, then they will make multiple attempts. They will learn. Okay, just a second. They will make multiple attempts to enter this software. They will learn from the failures, and then they will tell that what are the vulnerabilities in this software. This is how the regular testers work. Now, similar thing will be done by the anthropic model, that is Mythos. But if the normal traditional testers are doing a particular thing in around 1 year, then in significantly small amount of time, this thing can be done in Mythos. So how Mythos will act? First of all, Mythos will interact with the software. For example, if I am talking about a banking software, so Mythos will interact with the software, and Mythos will try to breach the security of that software to check whether the cyber security is good or not. And if it is not able to breach, it will do multiple attempts, it will learn from the failure, and hence it will expose the vulnerabilities so that the software developers and the coders can rectify that mistake. So this is the major purpose of the Mythos. But now article is saying an important thing, that it is good that it is enhancing the cyber security infrastructure, but if the unethical people, if the unethical hackers get the access of Mythos, then it will be very bad thing for the critical infrastructure of any country. Critical infrastructure like the banking infrastructure, like the power grids. So because this Mythos tool is very, very powerful, because it interacts with the software dynamically. So it knows all the vulnerabilities. It knows how to enter or how to penetrate the cyber security system. So if these things get in the hand of unethical hackers, then it will be worse. It will not be a good thing for the critical infrastructures of any country. So these all things the article is discussing. Okay, so now I think we discussed each and everything. Let's see if we have any other thing. Okay, so here Anthropic has developed an advanced AI model. That AI model is called Mythos. And what is the purpose? It can identify software vulnerabilities more effectively than the traditional scanners. Okay, traditional scanners, that means traditionally how we were detecting the cyber security vulnerabilities. But main issue here is unauthorized users have already accessed the model, and it shows how difficult it is to secure the powerful AI system. And if these actors get the access, they could target the critical infrastructure such as banks, hospitals, as well as power grids. Yes. Now article is highlighting another important thing, and that important thing is about the patching. Patching means, see, as you know, if we talk about a thing, and if a particular thing breaks, so if you want to rectify that thing, if you want to reverse that thing, you will put small patches. So similar thing happens in the field of cyber security also. That means if Mythos has to rectify something, so it will put small patches, or it will enhance the cyber security. But important thing here is that the speed with which the unethical hackers are exploiting the system, in that speed only Mythos is not able to detect the defenders, or mythos is not able to rectify this mistake. So this is the important thing, that the speed of the unethical hackers is very fast, but the speed of mythos is not that very fast. So these are some of the vulnerabilities in our AI system. Okay, so now a practice question for you. The practice question is, with reference to the 6th schedule of Indian Constitution, consider the following statements. First statement is, it provides for autonomous districts council in certain tribal areas. Second is, it applies to all union territories having tribal population. And third is, it derives constitutional validity from Article 244 of the Constitution. So yes, go through the statements once again, read more about 6th schedule and try to answer this question in the comment section. So first you have to answer this question, and then I think there was no question in this topic. And yes, you have to answer this also. What is the difference between free trade agreement and the difference between economic union? Because in this article we discussed about the custom union as well as free trade agreement. Now you have to tell me what is the difference between free trade agreement as well as the economic union. And if we talk about, I think, this article, so here you have to tell me, right to marry person of one's own choice is protected under which fundamental article, or it comes under which fundamental right. And yes, here you have to tell me, tribes advisory council is constitutional body, or is it statutory body, and if Ladakh ever gets a statehood, so will it be done under Article 2 of the Constitution or Article 3 of the Constitution? So I think yes, these were the important articles for today, and that's all from my side. Thank you and have a nice day.